Hi, good afternoon, folks. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 70s and 80s Buffalo Sabres core players coming up. Okay, I'll get started on this. I got a few videos to make. The shout out goes to Neil Flood. Neil, thanks for being so patient. I know I've been promising forever to get this on, but I'm going to flip in two things in this. I'm going to go through the main core players of that era that had over 400 games played, okay? Because we can come up with too many in the 80s that have 250 games. It just doesn't work, you know? So let's go with the main guys that were there the longest during the decade. And what I want to do also is at the end, I'm going to pick the numbers that I think should be retired from both decades, okay? Let's get on it. Okay, so let me get out of the way. I'll stand here. We'll start in the 70s, of course. We'll start with the forward, Gilbert Perreault, 1,191 games, 512 goals, 814 assists for 1,326 points, and a career plus 41. And for you young folks that never got to see him, be proud, because I'll tell you, this was one exciting bunch. My God, led by him. All right, then next is Craig Ramsey. He has 1,070 games, 252 goals, 420 assists, 672 points for a monstrous plus 324 career lifetime plus minus. Next, Don Luce, 766 games, 216 goals, 310 assists for 526 points. For another staggering plus 320 lifetime. Then we got Rick Martin, 681 games, 382 goals, 313 assists, 695 points, plus 12 lifetime. René Robert, 524 games, 222 goals, 330 assists for 552 points, and a plus 47 lifetime. And we round out with Danny Gare, 503 games played, 267 goals, 233 assists for 500 points even, and a plus 187, respectfully. Now we go to the defensemen. We got Bill Height, 854 games, 42 goals, 202 assists for 244 points, and a very, very impressive plus 320 career lifetime in plus minus. Next is Jim Schomfeld, 584 games, 45 goals, 183 assists for 228 points for plus 230. Pretty awesome. And rounding out the defensemen, I got Jerry Corap at 537 games played, 67 goals, 216 assists for 283 points in his career, and as a Sabre. And a plus 78, respectful plus 78. So the reason that's the only stats that are up there, because folks, this is what, let's face it, a lot of teams based Hall of Fame on, Hockey Hall of Fame, are these numbers right here that you see. Really, these statistics they use today, as good and advanced as they are, just they're not as clear cut and precise as these. You know, like this is what you're going to pay the money for. You know, you're not going to pay for the guys' chances and, you know, on 2-on-1s and things like this. But you'll notice the circles on their numbers, okay? Those are all the Hall of Famers that are retired numbers, not the Hall of Famers. These are the retired numbers in Buffalo, okay? On this list here. So we flip over now to the 80s. We're going to come back to this in a sec. And you will see why, if you're wondering why the 70s was so special, I had to pull teeth to make this list in the 80s. I really did. And we had some fun, good players in the 80s. We did. But you know, guys, when you don't win a playoff series from 1983 to 1993, you know what I mean? And we had to, that was the Mayday goal. We had to upset Boston in that series. We knew we were going to win it. We were up 3-0. We knew we were going to win it. But we had to wait a decade to see a playoff round one. It's kind of the same thing we're going through now with the Sabres not making the playoffs. It's like we went a lower tier down. God. Okay, let's get into the 80s. You'll notice there's no goalies. I should have mentioned that in the last page. I put it up there. There's no goalies in this. I use that. We'll do that for another video. All right, so the forwards. Lead off by Dave Andrechuk. He had 837 games played, 368 goals, 436 assists for 804 points, and a career plus 22. Next is Mike Feligno. 664 games, 247 goals, 264 assists for 511 points, and a plus 115 as a Sabre. Next, Rick Sealing, 664 games, 176 goals, 200 assists for 376 points, and another respectable 100 plus 116. And I had to rounded it off with Christian Ruutu at 438 games, 101 goals, 230 assists for 331 points, and a plus 16. Because his ratio was pretty good. 438 games, 331 points. Anybody that remembers Christian Ruutu was kind of one of those plug-in guys that was around forever, you know. It felt like anyway. I think he played like 6 years, if I'm right. Anyway, I keep going. Now for defense, I only got 2. I mean, I could have put up Playfair and stuff like that, but, you know, come on, let's be honest. I got Mike Ramsey, 911 games, 73 goals, 256 assists for 329 points for a very respectable plus 166. And Phil Housley, 608 games played, 178 goals, 380 assists for 558 points, and a plus 3. And of course, it's normal that most of these guys that were offensive and scored also were taking chances, right? And they were up against always the best. So this is why, you know, you'll see Housley's a plus 3. And also, he wasn't on that 70's squad. I can't imagine what the Sabres would have been like with Phil Housley on that 70's squad. Just imagine. Okay, so we're going to come back to this page also. Let me flip it. And let's look at this. All right, so Neil, I'm tossing this in as an extra into the video, okay? So I wanted to, because I was going to do this in a separate video, but I might as well just add it in while we're looking at it right now. Numbers I think should be retired, folks, okay? I'm just going to put check marks or question marks. Craig Ramsey, without a doubt, I think his number should be retired. I think it's a no-brainer just looking at his plus 324. This is one of the best defensive forwards that only didn't win, you know, recognition because of Bob Gainey. Really. You know, when you think about it, oh, I touched that 3. So I got to put Craig Ramsey as his number should be retired, in my opinion. I'll probably hear from you guys what you think too. Don Luce, the same exact thing. And it was almost like these guys were twin brothers when they were out there. I'm telling you. I mean, their stats are very similar. Plus 324, plus 320. Can you imagine playing against these two guys? The odds that you're not going to score when you're out there, they're just up your ass. There's nothing you can do. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. So I got those two as locks to have their numbers retired, in my opinion. Okay? Bill Height is a lock. He's an absolute lock. I would have him as the lock, actually, of these 3. Bill Height, plus 320. Guy didn't make a mistake. I swear, like, I know that's a little far-fetched, but I would say, you know, defensively, he was like our Nick Lidstrom. Hey, I remembered his name today. Thank you, Lord. Yeah, he was like our Nick Lidstrom when it comes to defensive play. He just didn't make mistakes, this guy. Really. Tall and lanky, and I don't know. I don't know why. You notice I don't got Tim Horton on our core because he really wasn't. He was there like this amount of time, right? This was our core in the 70's. These were the 3 big guys. Jim Schomfeld. Yep. I think his number should be retired. He played enough games, 584. He played more games than Rennie Robert, you know. He played more games than Danny Gare. He should be a lock, in my opinion. Schomfeld was a beast. Bill Height was the guy that was a gentleman about screwing you up all night long. He was like a gentleman about it. Schoenfeld didn't care. He just didn't care. He'd tell you, I won't even say what he'd tell you, but you know what I mean? He didn't care. He was he was an abrasive character. But Bill Height was that guy that if you're on the other team, you're looking at your teammates saying, my God, this guy's good. That kind of guy, you know? So, and Schomfeld just had that intimidation factor, more, maybe a little more than Height, but Height had the perfection of being a defenseman down better, in my opinion. Just in my opinion. And Jerry Corap, I would say yes also. I would throw him in also. You know, folks, when you go back to the 70s, look at this. I could have added Jocelyn Gouvernement. There's a few names I could have added on this list. Gouvernement comes to mind, you know what I mean? Right away. There's just, there's so many names that I could have, you know, I could have marked down, but I didn't. But I didn't want to put too many either. I've got 9 guys here, right? Yeah, I got 9. I was trying to keep it to 6 or 8. I got 9 here. This is why the Buffalo Sabres history is proud, folks. These 9 guys right here. These 9 guys. These guys should never be forgotten, any of them. And that's why these 5, in my opinion, put them up in the rafters. Get it right, Sabres. Seriously, get it right. Get it right. Okay, let's go to the 80s. Andrew Chuck, question mark. He's a question mark. Yeah. And Faligno, I wouldn't even consider Feligno. I would consider it, but I probably wouldn't do it. So I'll put a question mark, just out of respect for the kind of momentum a guy and his energy like Mike Feligno brought to the Sabres back in the 80s. I mean, everybody remembers his jump, you know? We'll never forget that. There was just things about him. This guy never gave up in any hockey game. You know, Andrew Chuck was just kind of more gifted. I always felt Feligno was the type of guy, give me Feligno game 7 in overtime, believe it or not, before Dave Andreychuk. I just trusted him more when it come to pressure situations. But that's, you know, Sealing, no, but he was just a steady guy. I wish we would have drafted Mike Bossy instead of Rick Sealing. God, I'll never get over that, folks. And Christian Root, who I threw in as a filler. He's kind of that guy that, you know, he was decent, but that's about it. Yeah, now Mike Ramsey, without a doubt. Without a doubt, I think his number should be retired. I'd even consider this guy for the Hall of Fame. He was so steady defensively also. My God. And he's a plus 166 on a not very good era in Buffalo. Not really. The 80s, yes, we had mostly winning seasons. But guys, when you're spoiled after the 70s, the 80s seem like you're scratching your head and you're like, well, what's wrong with them? Like, I swear, making the playoffs was normal back then. There wasn't as many teams. And Phil Housley, you know, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, but I'd have to say yes. I'd have to say yes. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. His number should be retired. So I got these guys here. I got 2 from the 80s. And easily I got these 5 from the 70s, guys. There's no doubt in my mind on these 5. The only reason I would doubt, let's say, the 80s picks, like, you know, like if I was to doubt, it's not because I can't imagine Housley's number. That's why I brought up Housley before I flipped the board and started all this part of it. Because I can't imagine Phil Housley, what he would have done on that 70s squad. I can't imagine how good that would have been. My God. You know, he was the new era of defensemen way ahead of time. So was Bobby Orr, of course, but Bobby Orr was great everywhere in every aspect of the game. But not for And not to insult any of these other guys. See, like all those 70s guys, I say should be retired. They're the forefathers of our franchise, guys. These are the forefathers. These are the guys that paved the way for a proud franchise that isn't in existence yet again. Yet. And I will say yet when it comes to that. We'll get there. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. I'd say we're going to probably have to give it a good 3 years to see what Adams does now with the current team, and we'll take it from there. But we can't forget these guys. So I'm lobbying for 7 names to be. Now, if I was to tell you what order, I would say these 5 before any of these 2 down here. Yeah, these 5 have to go up first. Maybe Corap can wait for Mike Ramsey, but I would say that, you know, get it done, Sabres. There's a lot of names that should be in the rafters, and we don't have enough, you know. Just my take, guys. All right, folks, hope you had fun with this video. I'm going to make a few more, so I got to get on the next one right now. No, I'm only making 1 more, right? Oh, God. My mind's all over the place. All right, I got to get on the next video, and I will see you folks tonight after the game. Have a good one.